afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Propagandacast. This time, an extra episode just for you today because, I don't know, couldn't quite think of any sort of topic for layer or a addendum right away, and I just figured, I kind of wanted to have this video, thought it looked interesting to an extent, but I didn't quite feel like cast worthy sort of as a regular episode, so this is sort of more of an extra episode. It might be a bit looser in some ways, and again, a bit too one-sided, perhaps less exciting in some ways, but still I think this has some good educational material in it. So we got here Ku in the East fighting for the Soviet Union, socialism, Comrade Stalin, and the 7th Tank Corps in the West. We got FireandTerror fighting for the Wehrmacht, Germany, Deutschland, rolling out here with the 1st Panzerdivision. He's a rather excellent Wehrmacht player, I think. Certainly able to go his own ways with Deutschland. We got an MT-42 grenadiers out here for FireandTerror. Double countries there for Ku, and we're noting here assault support, storm doctrine, and Jaeger infantry, the Panzer grenadier machine gun infantry versus shock army, Soviet industry, and Guard rifle combined arms tactics for Ku with the double conscripts. Standard opening here in that sense from both players. More conscripts for Ku, which could indicate Guard rifle as that sort of situates itself best here with all of these conscripts. Moving northwards here with the MT-42 towards the munitions point, securing the compartment. Bit risky in some ways, a bit aggressive, but depending on the situation can also be quite strong if your opponent hasn't gotten to it in the first place, because pretty much locks down most movement here, grabs the munitions point, and just really makes your opponent's life miserable to an extent. Grenadiers, they're hard working at securing the centre victory point, and there for Deutschland. Kar-19Ks clenched tightly in their hands as they consider all of the Russians that will be shooting soon enough. More Grenadiers on the way there for FireandTerror. Ku just advancing all of these conscripts and going for a very early Molotov upgrade, which I guess is the Germans are pretty much always aggressive to play the Russians with the conscripts, because you can just use it to flush them out of the cover, making them actually your targets, but also make it harder for the opponent to use the machine gun. So early Molotovs is usually a pretty good sort of option there. That's the Wehrmacht. Versus the Oberkommando basically tends to be less efficient, so not necessarily something I recommend. But early Molotovs as the Wehrmacht tends usually to pay off. Lots of features. There you go. Molotovs against the church. Grenadiers falling up. The MT-42 is going to be a bit too slow here. It's going to suffer quite a bit of damage here to the Molotov as the fires burn through the machine gun crew. FireandTerror, his machine gun crew experiencing both fire and terror, are being enveloped here by the conscript. We can see that he's moving in his gun. He's trying to support and ensure the machine gun doesn't get wiped and handed over to the enemy. And looks like it's going to happen. That was, I would say, pretty close. They almost, in fact, managed to wipe the MT-42 there, which would be quite a loss of FireandTerror. Particularly then Ku have been able to steal it and turn it against FireandTerror. That would have been a very early, well, perhaps not GG, but could very well have been a close to GG moment there, depending on how well Ku would then be able to take advantage of the loss of the MT-42. Constant fighting against Grenadiers. We got triple Grenadiers to it. One MT-42 for FireandTerror. Will he take up soon, or will he continue for a slightly heavy tier 1? Will it be a tier 2 move, or will it be tier 3 rush? As again, there's an increase in the amount of players going for tier 3 rushes, but that doesn't mean everyone does it. There was apparently someone on the Reddit who just sort of asked because I said it, but I didn't actually say everyone did. It's just an increase in the amount of players doing it. So small addition there, an explanation. But there are still Wehrmacht players who are going for tier 2, and there's still certainly plenty of them who are championing going for tier 2. Country there versus Pioneers, finding out he's going to disappoint the Pioneers. And certainly going for just for tier 2, then into tier 3 is a lot more easy to manage for a lot of players. And in a lot of cases, like terms of timing, it's still going to end up roughly the same. It's just some players can push out a Panzer IV faster with a heavy tier 1 into tier 3. But again, it requires a lot of aggression and certainly some skill and a bit of luck. Consequences of Grenadiers here, the overall FireandTerror maintaining good momentum. He's got 3 Grenadiers, 1 MT-42 here. MT-42 being used to expertly support the advancing infantry, also keeping up pressure around the cutoff point, forcing Ku to be a bit more defensive versus FireandTerror. More conscript running, so he's going for a 5 conscript build. That is pretty aggressive, also a bit bold, and depending on how you use them, could also backfire on Ku quite aggressively. I mean, it clearly indicates that he's going to go here for the Guard rifle, as opposed to shock army, which also comes up for slight machine guns. But either of these two will have to be the choice. If he goes for Soviet industry, I'm going to have to say he's a bit silly, because that's not really what you want to do here. But there you go, quick flank with the conscript behind the MT-42, good move here. He needs more pressure on the north though. But in this case, FireandTerror sort of very aggressive and sort of pointed pressuring here is forcing Ku to commit more troops engagements there that more favour to an extent FireandTerror here. There you go, Molotov off, but there's a high likelihood of losing the conscripts due to simply the sheer number of Grenadiers and the fact they have to retreat through negative cover. But we can see it continues to commit. Instead of saying, switching northwards, just securing the whole thing here, and then allowing FireandTerror to then grab this while then leaving it or something like that. He instead just continues to commit, and in fact commits head on, which is very much the favour of FireandTerror's MD42, which certainly is more than willing to mow down all of these Russians, rushing straight at it. Closing in then, veterans 1 already. Conscripts suppressed, engineers suppressed, conscripts flanking up behind. Troops reinforcing, no medics up here due to the constant manpower being expended on replacements here for Ku, and there we go. MD42 Grenadier Squad retreated here. Conscripts there taking heavy damage out in the open, more moving in here. Engineers trying to crawl forward as well, overcoming the effects of the MD42's heavy burst fire. And meanwhile, we can see FireandTerror's teched up already, going for the light mechanized company and going for medic bunker here, providing ample support for those Grenadiers. And option for Panzer Grenadiers, half tracks and whatnot. And we got mines down here on the cough pot as well. Truck explodes and been in contact with a Molotov, but I'm pretty sure that truck was pretty much inert in the first place. And there you go, like to make a nice company up here. Will he go for the half track, the choo-choo, Panzer Grenadier, or the Pack 40? I mean, there's not really, I think, much reason for FireandTerror to immediately worry about vehicles, so he's probably more likely to end up with a Panzer Grenadier squad, a half track with a 222. Troops are reinforcing healing, allowing Ku to quickly seize as much territory as possible. But at the same time, I imagine FireandTerror is just going to take a more leisurely paces than counter-attacks, not feeling that he needs to rush into a lot of poor engagements versus his opponent. With Ku swiftly moving ahead. No flare mines being laid down here and there, or flare trap wires. Shooting about here. Panzer Grenadiers go on the way there for FireandTerror. Versus conscript heavy build, Panzer Grenadiers tend to be a pretty good choice, able to deal with Russian infantry quite well. In particular at mid-range, they can usually beat them up, and even with submachine guns, if you sort of keep them at a sort of the right distance, the Panzer Grenadiers can deal with them. Particularly once they get veterancy. So right here, I mean, this is a pretty good choice to FireandTerror. Certainly makes it much harder for Ku to use his strategy, and he's inch enough yet to sort of take anything there, or at least use the docks and not allow him to make war out of his conscripts fast. Still harassing FireandTerror, keeping on the defensive, using his larger numbers now to push through. There again, FireandTerror will strike back with Panzer Grenadiers and Grenadiers. And go equipped with the Sturmgewehr and Field Stick Grenadiers being swept back with the conscripts Molotov as well. Panzer Grenadiers setting out for the fatherland, the south, a bit of harassment there. And we got tech here, we got support company out for Ku. That'll probably be a maxim to help sort of contain FireandTerror's infantry. We got a half track on the way there. Quick rare will be the Flampanzer Wagner, though there are some Wehrmacht players who do go for the regular half track. Though they do, at least in my experience, tend to be slightly in the minority. But they are generally the more exciting players. Troops are healing, reinforcing. Cut-off point there being secured. Ground the northern victory point. And there you go. Guard rifle for Ku, not much of a surprise. His ops is still worried about vehicles. A guardsman can help out there. No, so there we go. One submachine gun upgrade on the way. 250.5 take out here. Mittlerer Schützen Panzerwagen for FireandTerror. Comes to the need to be a bit careful. Up north, securing the victory point here. Back here, troops healing, reinforcing. Setting out there. Supporting the Grenadiers. Giving here FireandTerror some more frontline presence, allowing just to reinforce. He doesn't have to retreat. That's actually a pretty big benefit. And I think something a lot of Wehrmacht players tend to personally underestimate, just the ability of being able to reinforce on the front line is actually, in many cases, quite big, since it can save you a lot of time, allowing you to use overall maintain person better, pressure opponent, and also play more aggressively, so it has really a lot of advantages. Meanwhile, Ku swinging through the south here with 2 submachine wielding conscript squads, following up with his 3. I don't think he's seen the half track, they might have heard it, or at least some sort of vehicle. Either way, Ku is taking no chances here versus FireandTerror. He's bringing up the anti-tank weapons to blow up the fascist vehicles and tanks. And there you go, Gewaltladung, half track supporting a push. Grenadiers probably reinforced as well. MT-4 up in the church. Whew. Just avoid the mine, and then Ludwig sets us off heroically. I don't think Ludwig meant to do that intentionally. Don't worry, he was a hero either way. Up north, and he's pushed back here by Grenadier Squad. Noting 1 light machine upgrade there on FireandTerror's troops. No doctrine for him as of yet, though. With a half track out, Storm Doctrine with the ability to lay down Regal mines could be quite helpful. Would certainly blow up any sort of attempt from Ku to get back using light vehicles. Pack 40 up there for FireandTerror. Slowly pushing ahead here with conscripts. And because the flank here, though, of course, the MG42 is very well able to come. In fact, it's seemingly set up here to, in this case, stop the flank attempt there by Ku. Bad luck for Ku. MG42 there suppresses both counter squads more or less immediately due to them being in extra cover, and the Veteran 2 bonus really just amplifying it all into one big mess there for Ku. He gets off an anti-tank grenade, but his men are getting absolutely torn to shreds out in the open. They've got a field gun open now, half-tech almost taking out, contra being pushed back. To continue to sort from the front here, but being repulsed by the Panzer Grenadiers and the Grenadiers, certainly highlighting the firepower and the power of the MG42. With 14 kills already here, Ku is bleeding out. He is not having a particularly fun time here, though. FireandTerror was able to mount a solid defense, partly helped by the half-track and the MG42, and well, the rest of his forces almost wiping out our counter squad here, and there we go, annihilated. That is one unit gone. Not one of his submachine guns units, which will certainly, you know, have been, I suppose, a small relief here for him. And pulling back troops here for reinforcement. Field gun hanging back. We got a mortar on the way there to help deal with FireandTerror's defenses. Once more hitting the cutoff point, once more digging in. And this time, though, for the first time, getting his half-track fixed up after having suffered quite a bit of damage. Mein Gott, Jürgen, wer thinks this was a Panzer? Well, it has Schützenpanzerwagen in the name. Yeah, well, you know, that's just to make it sound cool. Can't take that many bullets. You know, Canadians. They get into all of our equipment and ruin it. I thought that was Gremlins. The Americans have Gremlins, we have Canadians. Ooh, tried to bait them out into sort of getting murdered with a rough grenade. Nice attempt there by FireandTerror. Nice attempt. Tank have almost done, pushing ahead here, taking advantage again of the fact they're able to keep Ku down the defensive, hitting his fuel point there. So that way Ku can't easily push ahead for anything that might punish him for that. Plus, I mean, he might as well. So good timing there by FireandTerror. Could build a tank battalion command there, maybe push out with some sort of light armor there for Ku. The faster he can do that, I think, versus FireandTerror, the better for him. Of course, he also needs to manage everything else. Half-track there rolling about. Grenadiers, Panzer Grenadiers setting in. Mortar fire raining southwards. Grenadiers are being swarmed by counters wielding their submachine guns. Snowdy setting up one squad here to try and cover up the retreat path. Very good. And here there's a small chance of wipe with that squad. It also been upgraded. I think they have much better chance. In this case, though, FireandTerror's Grenadiers get away. Panzer Grenadiers moving in. Of course, all supported here by the 251 half-track. Panzer's moving up here. You need to be careful with this positioning, but still, bomb grenade there causes havoc and panic in Ku's lines. Then falling back here towards the half-track, coming force, of course. Close to Veteran 2 already. Half-track Grenadiers Veteran 2 already as well. I guess my notes, if he doesn't have to retreat again, he can just easily maintain a field presence, making it much harder to be pushed off, and again just allow him to just exert much pressure better on Ku. That's definitely not something to be taken lightly. Since again, it just means Ku can't easily fall back to reinforce his troops either. And there you go, flanking the contra with the Panzer Grenadiers. This is going to be a winning engagement. There we go, particularly once he hits Veteran 2. And this is very much one there for FireandTerror, since the contra just standard and it doesn't stand a chance at that range. Not with submachine guns on top. Grenadiers flanking with rough grenades as well, forcing out into the open, further decreasing the chance of actually pulling through that one alive. And there you go, Ku ends up retreating. No tag up yet for Ku though, no tag up yet. The extreme pressure on FireandTerror just continues to sort of just keep him on the defensive here, and the half-track just further amplifies it, because again, he doesn't have to retreat so much there. He can just do whatever he wants to, and again, that's pretty big. And again, it's one thing I think a lot of amateur players are just consistently underestimating. Hence, one of the primary reasons I went for this, you know, sort of a extra video here, because I really just want to highlight just, you know, how useful a half-track can really be, and how just, you know, how big an effect it can actually have. As you can see, they can just constantly enforce the Grenadiers. He can't be pushed off. And there you go, almost wiping out the counters here. Panzer slowly approaching Veteran 3. Ku is just being played out, though. Of course, in this case, it doesn't really help that Ku just continues to feed him. He doesn't, again, try and just swing around. He tried to avoid this and just, you know, push through here. I mean, that would actually be, I think, a really good choice by Ku. But again, he just keeps attacking head on into FireandTerror, which, again, supported by the half-track, is really a pain in the ass for Ku to get out of the place there. Because he can't just, you know, bleed him out into the hope for, you know, FireandTerror to crumble and get away. He can just maintain a strong position more or less constantly. A half-track, though, coming on front from the field gun might change that, though. But even then, FireandTerror has been able to maintain so much more here on the front line thanks to the half tech, and I think that's really just one of the half tech's biggest advantages. It's just the ability to maintain that frontline presence. And virtually 2 doesn't need to go that far close to it before it can reinforce again. So I mean, it can actually maintain a much more aggressive posture. And once it virtually 3 could probably actually reinforce from being in the cover while it's on the other end of the hedgerows. So there's a lot there to, I think, keep in mind. But again, Ku just continues to feed FireandTerror. Their troops just continue to attack head on. But he has finally tagged up, and the mortars also make it a bit harder here now for FireandTerror to maintain a defensive position. But even then, this is just really in the favour of FireandTerror. His half-tag obviously also needs some repairs. That's seen better days. You can also see he's finally realising, hang on, how about going north? He's still committing forces. He's still, attacking FireandTerror head on now with an MD42 of the heavier mounts there in play. He's fell, I think, highlighting a bit the folly. He in fact lost another conscript squad, so Ku here is just sort of slowly bleeding out as he just attacks head on into FireandTerror again and again and again. Panzer IV on the way there for FireandTerror, taking advantage of his advantage right now, his edge against Ku to just pull ahead for armour. Ku is most able to get out Nation 6, some T-70s, so to slow this down, but victory points wise he's falling behind, resource wise he's just not getting an edge, and manpower wise he's just basically throwing it into a wall made out of bullets. And unsurprisingly the assaults are quite costly for Ku. For FireandTerror, it's a lot more economically advantageous. I mean, at this stage, we might as well call it the Yellow Corpse Road.
The enemy is attempting to steal our sector. We have a new Panzer IV.
So there you go, Panzer IV here for FireandTerror. Up north securing the victory point here with the conscripts. T-70 on the way there for Ku2521. Or 25021. 2521. Going to having an impact. Panzers there close to virtually 3 already. Certainly highlighting again what they can do when properly handled. Again, it's not all players who certainly I think knows how to use the best of Panzer Grenadiers. But now Ku is slowly beginning to invest more resources, more men into the north. The problem is just it's happening a bit too late. And now FireandTerror's got a Panzer IV inbound, which is going to lock this down very hard. So at this rate, Ku's going to need an S-6 here. And probably another field gun to have a chance here versus what FireandTerror is doing. Some nasty damage being inflicted by FireandTerror's Panzer IV. After being fixed up again. Incredibly close to victory. There you go. T-70 charging in at the Grenadiers. That could have been a misclick there, but Ku just accidentally sort of clicked a bit behind instead of on them. Hard to say either way though. It's going to need repairs already, and the engineers just make their way back to the base, I suppose. In that sense, it's a bit lucky, but otherwise, I mean, FireandTerror's right now getting a lot more fuel here than Ku2521. That is not good. We got Storm Dogs in there by FireandTerror, ambush camouflage being handed out, and the S-6M. Back here, we got nothing further going on for FireandTerror, just maintaining his frontline presence here with the 1st Panzer Division using the half-track. Again, amazing stuff. Ambush camouflage on the Grenadiers, also very good, hiding out there. Oh, I can't wait to see the Russians' faces when we surprise them with this. Yeah, they won't see it coming at all. And there, going getting the conscripts. Getting a bit of ambush bonus off as well. And a howitzer up for FireandTerror. He's just piling it on here versus Ku. Like everything you just throw at him, he throws at him. Like FireandTerror, he is not giving Ku any rest if possible. And the only reason he hasn't pushed him straight into the base is because the base has machine guns. If he didn't, I'm pretty sure FireandTerror would be parked right in it right now. But there you go, S-6M out here for Ku and the 7th Tank Corps. Troops continue to be slowly murdered here by MD42 fire from FireandTerror. Grenadiers moving in, suppressing, murdering away. Lots and lots of light machine gun fire. Howitzer almost good to go as well. Continue just very light pressuring here from Ku up north, but again maintaining just the constant pushing here. Again, right into where FireandTerror is well dug in, and again it's going to be really difficult to dig out thanks to the half track, just constantly allowing FireandTerror to reinforce to the front, and that's really the big thing, just how big of a difference that can make, you know, for a German player. Just being able to reinforce the front line when you have 4-man squads is pretty useful. It helps to an extent, at least slightly, deal with some of the disadvantages of having 4-man squads, which again is you have to retreat more often to get them reinforced. Of course, it doesn't help the AoE weapons, but it does have its benefits in a lot of other areas. So, again, one reason I chose to do this little extra episode. So right now, these little crews are hanging back. We're just going to speed it up a bit here. As he gets his main force ready for a push up north here, push back by the Panzer IV Pioneers. We're basically waiting for Ku to make some sort of bigger push because that's going to be needed here to sort of really push back FireandTerror. Like, you just can't, you know, hope to whittle him down, but just, you know, constantly attacking in there because, again, the half track pretty much counters that. So Ku has to make a really powerful attack that just breaks FireandTerror southern position 1 go, and there you go. Air support called in for Ku should do the trick. R2 Stürmer mix will tear through FireandTerror's forces. The half track cannot help against that for sure. Otherwise, that'd be a bit too good. Arch continues to rain down death. 7 kills already. But there you go, FireandTerror finally forced away. Just going to the south, going to take fire from the T-70 conscripts. And wiped by the R2. First real loss there for FireandTerror as Ku just rolls ahead. For the Soviet Union, FireandTerror, they're slowly losing ground. Pack 40 there, a bit exposed to use sinks. We go for the T's of the half track here. Oh dear, he's taking the wrong path, he's taking the wrong turn. I like who losing the half track. He gets stuck. Oh, scheisse! He lost the ace half track. He might lose the Pack 40 here. Ku swings this around aggressively, but he's still bleeding out victory points very fast. He's down to less than 200 victory points. Meanwhile, back here, FireandTerror is just taking cash, and he's going for tier 4 because he's in such a dominant position. He figures, you know what, I can go for a Panther, or Sturmpanzer, or Panzerwerfer. I could go for all 3. So we'll see what he ends up with, though. I mean, he's feeling really, he just wants to push Ku psychologically. He would like to end up with the Panther because a lot of players respond not too amazingly to that one. Panther funding southwards and units almost wiped out. Panzer Kampfwagen feeling engaging the conscripts. Direct hit, wiping out half the squad. Unit wipe. And T-10 about to get murdered. But there you go. Flanked by the SIS-3 and the S-6. Though it's likely they still get the T-10 of the Panzer IV. Oh! Scheisse! Stuka bomb drop! Taking out the field gun crew! Obliterating it in a shower of gore and explosives. Dirt. Mostly dirt, because there's not really much left of the crew. And Panzer IV gains 22 and then gets blown up. Rather cataclysmic series of engagements here, but problem is FireandTerror's just been setting up for the Panthers most likely. And there you go, Panzer Kampfwagen 5 on the way. He's also got the victory point. So even this engagement did not end up amazingly well for FireandTerror. The problem is he's just so far ahead here that Ku's going to really have to pull off some brilliant stuff versus FireandTerror for this to really, you know, be able to affect FireandTerror seriously enough. Field gun there, recruit by Ku. Ready to blow up more fascist tanks. But will he be ready for the Panzer Kampfwagen 5? Hard to find away. They was probably, I think, trying to silence the field gun. Too slow though. Too slow. Then he's moving about there with ambush camouflage and some without. Southern victory point secured there for FireandTerror. Closing in on Veterans 1 and the Panther. Topsy healing enforcing. Conscripts, there we go, Molotov and the Grenadiers inside the church. How do you like that for a benediction? He's not Catholic. I don't know. I just thought it sounded cool. Further losses being inflicted. Kampfwagen netting hit by Pioneers. Troops are healing reinforcing. And up north, victory point being secured. Golf point grabbed here, at least harassed by FireandTerror. There you go, got the Panther out. Also, a fun fact, something I wasn't quite aware of, was brought to attention via the Steam forums, is apparently the Panther actually has a slightly higher rate of fire than the Panzer IV now. I actually didn't know that. That is actually a bit interesting. Pioneers, they're right next to the wreckage of the Panzer IV, Conch being pushed back. Troops setting out. What will Ku do now? More field guns. Another Division 6. There you go. Second field gun to help counter the Panther here, which rolls ahead with 2 kills to its name already for Deutschland. I found a story involving Panthers was actually the 11th SS Panzer Division Nordland in the Baltics when they were fighting there around Narva. Received a large chunk of Panthers Model D, the early models, which was supposed to just use, for dig down and use them as basically Panzerturme. Thing is, though, they were apparently able to get all the Panthers operable, at least most of them, and actually gain their own Panther company despite not being supposed to have it, and even managed to grab it all the way back to Berlin when they pulled back towards there. So, little fun fact there, little fun fact about Panthers, little fun story more specifically. And the early model Panthers certainly had a lot of flaws, which I believe included some rather weak turret rotation. And of course being very mechanically unreliable. Veteran 3 Panthers there hiding in ambush. Opening up, there you go, gunning into the rations. 28 kills. More Panthers going on the way there for FireandTerror. Units being shredded out in the open here, annihilated by FireandTerror's furious forces. Silly Fire there, not doing too much there. And overall you can see the Ku is destructing, he's just not getting anywhere. Bomb grenade off here, landing amidst the mortar crew, pushing them back. MG42 needs to be careful up north, we got Pioneers with the conscripts. The fellow's name I was Bit who brought up the, I didn't mention that, can't quite remember. Bit there on the Steam forums. R8 Panthers trying north against the conscripts, crushing poor Pushkin, pushing him into an early grave. Seeing those running away. Division 6 there. Veteran 2 going for the Panthers in the south. He's trying to find them. 32 kills by the way. Overall at this stage, I mean, it's largely over. I mean, it's very, to an extent, one-sided after a certain point, which again is why I do this as a regular episode. Like, at this stage, like, FireandTerror is just so far ahead, and Ku's just, constantly making the same mistakes, but he's not trying to change the overall attack approach here against FireandTerror. He's just constantly attacking into the same direction, which just isn't particularly helping out a lot. I mean, did be able to do some damage to the Panther with a bit of good luck, but overall, in terms of like any actual gains, it's just not really there, is it? He's brought up another mortar volley from artillery fire, but in the end, he's just not really going anywhere. He's down to 29 points as his FireandTerror with 428. And at this rate, FireandTerror's going to be able to call in a second Panther.
We have been reduced to 25 points. Failure is not rewarded.
Halted here by an MG42 and ambush camouflage. And ambush precision, obviously. Panther almost good to go. Artillery firing again. Like to Feldhaubitz. And there you go. Veteran 3 Panthers are dealing with the conscripts, shredding them in a matter of seconds. And there you go, closing in for just a bit more optimal range. And Veteran 3 of the conscripts just don't stand a chance versus Veteran 3 Panthers, while the Veteran 3 ones just obliterate them. Grab the fuel point there, go on the central one, southern one slightly exposed there. Second Panther FireandTerror. Second Panther. And more artillery fire here. Some of these Panthers moving in here, conscripts in a bit. There you go, bomb grenade off, and close to getting a wipe there. But the artillery might as well just end up doing it. Sprinting, very nice work there. Also, I think underutilized on Panther. If you have any doctrine, it does give them a sprint. Panther halfway done. In the southern mix point, we've got the Unit 6 trying to deal with the Grenadiers, but there's not really much you can do. Sweeping out the field gun crew and machine gun to find assault rifle fire. No survivors. No prisoners. 20 points left there for Ku. T-34 from 6 finally on the way, but I'd say this is much too late here. FireandTerror is just too dominant. We're just going to sort of rush through the last bits. I mean, it's pretty clear who's going to win, and there's not much else to say here. So there you go, GG, game over. Again, a bit on the one-sided side after a certain point. Again, the overall issue here basically being Ku just kept attacking for it. Just didn't try any other approaches with FireandTerror, which normally could have worked, but thanks to the half-track, it just became a meat grinder that really failed FireandTerror until again at 12 command points, where it's calling the R2 which is just sufficiently overwhelming. Like, had he tried anything else, I think this could have been a much less one-sided fight at a certain point, but because of that, he just threw so much manpower away at FireandTerror, feeding him so much expense and just allowing him so easily just go for Panthers. In fact, ended up with 2 Panthers at the 30-minute mark, because his opponent just kept fighting over this. This is basically just a case, heavy tunnel vision just being too stubborn for your own good, and FireandTerror just taking advantage. But again, it found out, I think, just the utility of the half-track, which have kicked a lot of players against, underestimated. Just also, Pentagon are pretty good if you know how to use them. So, bit of an extra episode. Again, not a regular episode. Don't think, again, it's just too one-sided for that. But, I hope you enjoyed this little extra thing. If you did, subscribe, like, share, comment, share it with your friends, and so on. This is Imperial signing off, and see you all another time for another exciting video. Cheers.